2020 Subaru WRX
Sport Tech RS with a manual transmission.
Sloppy. Yeah, horsepower and torque.
Definitely pretty sloppy. 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque from a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo boxer engine.
Yeah.
Right on.
Woo!
Okay, so let's get into the sloppiness because we experience this in every Subaru.
Except for the BRZs.
Yeah, because that's not all-wheel drive. And I think it's tied in with the all-wheel drive system because this one is definitely all-wheel drive.
Pretty much you can't beat it up like a rear-wheel drive car.
That's right. So it's got something to do with the overall drive line, and it's really hard to drive smoothly, especially from first gear.
All right, let's try it again. Be smooth, be smooth.
Okay, no launching. Here's first gear. Normal. And there's that little like shock, and I was trying to be smooth, right? So what happens is the revs don't match exactly how they should be, so you have to be absolutely perfect, like on the button to drive this car smoothly.
And even when you're in first, if you floor it, like say it's wet, it'll go like,
yeah.
You gotta be really careful with this.
And I owned a 2004 Subaru WRX, and this feels pretty much identical in terms of all the driveline stuff.
Which is actually so nice because I think the further we go into the future, the more this car is better.
Yeah, the fact that this still has a manual transmission, doesn't have any drive modes.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's just like, hey, here's a cool car. Hope you like it.
So everyone complaining in the comments saying that, oh, now they like old cars. I think what happens is once a car gets so old to a certain point that every other car advances so much that this feels great. When it's at the midpoint, that's when it sucks. And then we say, man, that car really sucks compared to its rivals.
That's why we like the GTR, the 370Z, this, the STI.
Yeah, so if we reviewed this like halfway into its product cycle, we would probably hate it.
Yes, because we'd be like, why isn't it like a Type R?
Exactly, because when the Type R came out, we didn't like the STI, which makes sense.
You guys get that?
Yeah, hopefully that makes sense, because it makes sense to me.
All right, punch it.
All right, downshift and turbo lag. So what else they apparently solved for 2020 was Rev Hang. I think it's definitely better, but they didn't solve it 100%. So what Rev Hang means is when you let off the gas between gears, the revs just kind of sit there for a bit. And then you need to wait a little bit for them to drop so that you have a smooth shift.
Yeah, but then there's certain cars that have like no Rev Hang, like that Speedster we drove.
Yeah, exactly. So comparing it to a Civic, which is a little bit more relatable, a Civic base model has a lot of Rev Hang, a Civic Si has a lot less, and then a Type R almost has no Rev Hang.
Sorry I brought up the Speedster, but that thing was just like, you let out the clutch, it's like,
dude, I love that thing. I want to make it relatable to the people like us. So we do have a 6-speed transmission. I like the way it shifts. It's very notchy, feels very old school, and the fact that when you rest your hand on it, it's moving, shows you how mechanical it is.
If you let off the gas, I swear it moves like an inch every time.
It really does. So it kind of moves with the transmission. So you can see all the like mechanical stuff, all the bushings, everything's doing its job, and like you feel the car, which is pretty cool.
How does it feel through Cliche Corner?
Well, let's find out. I'm gonna downshift into second gear and really rip this thing. Okay, so there's definitely a lot of understeer on turn in, and if you floor it through there, also understeer. But if you floor it and let off, then you have liftoff oversteer, which is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, I feel like this car wants to oversteer anytime you're not on throttle.
Yeah, so this does body roll, but you can make it oversteer, just not on throttle like Yuri said.
But this would probably be ideal for loose surfaces like snow and dirt.
It definitely would be, which we haven't experienced, but I have experienced in my 2004 WRX, and it was amazing. So mechanically, what else did they update? Apparently they updated the rear differential. Now I tried to research what that actually meant, but I couldn't find anything that said what the new differential was, so I can't tell you what it actually is, but there is a new differential back there.
Okay, so it's new.
It is new. It's got a new part number.
And what else does it have new?
It also has Brembo brakes now.
Which is very nice. It looks really nice with the red on the blue.
Yeah, you only get them in the Sport Tech RS.
And what was the last WRX we drove?
We drove the Ryu edition, which was basically a Sport Tech RS, but one step above.
A cool color and a little more money.
Yeah, so you can't get those anymore because that was a limited edition. So let's talk about this engine some more. So I'm gonna leave it in third. I'm gonna be around 3,000 RPM. I'm just gonna floor it. Turbo lag and go. And I think that flat spot's been gone as well.
You're like, you get full boost at like 4,500 RPM.
Yeah, and it does feel pretty good. The lag is actually fun, as we've said in some previous reviews.
Yeah, especially when you like get into second gear. Sometimes it's just like right into the boost. You're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, and sometimes you even hear the turbo spool, the blow-off valve. Well, it's not a blow-off valve, it's a bypass valve, but you still kind of hear a little bit of turbo spool.
But overall, it's not like one of the loudest, best sounding cars stock.
No, and because it's a twin scroll turbo with equal length headers, you don't have that boxer rumble. However, I can hear a little bit of boxerish in it, so it's kind of cool still. And suspension-wise, it's a little bit on the stiff side, but in no way is it uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it's as stiff as you'd want it for a daily driver.
Yeah, so the Veloster N in full N mode is like way stiff compared to this.
Way stiffer. But then a Type R would feel better than this.
Exactly. Type R is a little bit more expensive, but an SI would also feel a little bit better than this in terms of suspension.
Yes, and those have active dampers.
Yes, and since this is the top trim of this, it's actually pretty expensive, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, but it's in the cool category now because it's so old, it's good.
That's true, but there's something that's even older and even kind of cooler that's very close in price to this.
All right, we'll get to that later.
We will. All right, so we got carried away with all the horsepowers and torques. Let's get to the looks.
Looks cool.
It looks the same as it's looked for the last couple of years.
What's this color called?
This is called World Rally Blue Pearl.
We don't have gold wheels.
Yeah, I know.
Is that like an STI only thing? I feel like old WRXs had gold wheels.
No, you couldn't get them from the factory like that.
Did you up badge your WRX with golden wheels?
Well, that's not up badging. I didn't badge it as an STI,
Yeah,
but I did get.
I'm joking.
I know. I did get STI wheels for it.
Did you have a spoiler on it?
No. I thought about it though. I did have the STI hood scoop.
Okay, so this is a blue one. It's got a little spoiler. It pretty much looks exactly the same. We've got a little WRX badge on the fender.
And because this is a classic Subaru now, I guess, all the new Subarus that are coming out don't have hood scoops, so we still have one here, and I love it.
What do you think of the wheels?
Wheels are pretty basic. I feel like they should have been one size bigger.
And what is the Continental recommended tire for the WRX?
The Viking Contact 7 and the Extreme Contact Sport.
And we've got double dual exhaust with some cool diffusers in the middle.
Yeah, quad exhaust, whatever you want to call it.
Double dual.
Double dual. It looks pretty good. It's real, which is nice in 2020.
Because technically the Corvette has quad exhaust, but it's not a double dual.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, all right, fair enough.
I can make up terms too. So overall, are the looks still good?
Yeah, I mean, it still looks good, but I am excited for this to get refreshed. It's probably going to be a plug-in hybrid or something.
Yeah,
next. Who knows?
But this exists right now, and it's pretty decent.
It is. But let's get you into the driver's seat so you can experience some old school Subaru-ness.
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best attempt.
Go for it. Smooth. And that's exactly how you have to drive it. You can't just rip it.
I mean, I did practice today.
All I tried to do was rip it, which you can't.
You can't at all.
You have to be gradual and careful.
See, we drive like people who drive rear-wheel drive manual cars.
Yes.
This is a whole different level.
It is.
Okay, but let's talk about inside here. The interior. It's pretty much normal Subaru. We've got Recaro seats.
Yeah, the Recaro seats are really nice. However, the passenger side is very high compared to the driver's side.
Yeah, we got more electronic controls on the driver's side.
And these Recaros are actually really comfortable. They're very well bolstered. I like how they look. Everything about them is great.
And there's so much visibility. This feels old school to me too.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like, visibility is fantastic in this.
And your seating position is kind of high. So like you don't actually need an SUV if you just get this. It's got all-wheel drive.
You really don't. Like, don't buy SUVs, just buy this.
Okay, back to the interior. Then we've got the best Subaru infotainment ever.
It's amazing.
Because it's not that tall vertical one, which is the worst. So they went from 2016 having the worst infotainment to 2017 to like 19 having the best infotainment, 2020 the worst infotainment.
And now 2020 also the best because this is an old car.
Yeah, it's pretty much crazy. But this has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, rewinding satellite radio stations, tune mix, a volume knob, a tuning knob that works really fast. It's pretty much perfect.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, this is all anyone needs.
The only thing is the touch buttons are touch buttons, but they still function pretty well.
Yeah, like, yeah. Then we have this little screen above the infotainment, which has this little joystick to control it instead of having to control it from the steering wheel buttons, which was super weird in the Forester.
Yeah, and this isn't laggy either. It moves between screens so quickly.
And we pretty much just keep it on the boost.
Yeah.
And then our gauge cluster is pretty normal. We got our tach on the left, speedo on the right, and a digital display in the middle.
Yeah, and then if we look back at the center console, we have climate control buttons, and they're actual hard buttons, which is fantastic.
Yeah, very easy to use. But what's funny, below here, you could tell this is an old school car because a full-size phone plugged in won't fit here.
I know, I noticed that too.
And mine's not even the big iPhone. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm okay with it though.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgive you, WRX. Okay, then if we move on to our steering wheel, we don't have the new style steering wheel with all the crazy buttons. It's chilled out because I guess there's a lot less features. Like we don't have the eyesight and everything. You can see it's very clear up here in the rearview mirror area.
Yeah, and the steering feel itself is pretty good. I think it could be a little bit better for turn-in, but I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, and the feel of the wheel, I really like. I feel like you don't like Subaru wheels.
This one I like.
Okay.
I like the texture of this one.
I think they're good across the board.
And then we have some fake carbon fiber. I'm assuming this is fake. It looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it's got a good gloss coat over it.
Exactly. Subaru, if that's real, I apologize, but I do like it.
Then if we look at our shifter, it's actually like a pretty long shifter.
Yeah, it is. It really comes up pretty high.
But what's nice is that the armrest behind it does not get in the way like it does on Hyundai's.
Yeah, and then we have our heated seats back there as well.
And a manual e-brake for doing drifts.
That's right.
I think.
Yeah. And then we also have a cup holder down here.
Okay, it does fit a small cup just fine, no issues. How about the
A riser test? Let's find out.
3, 2, 1,
Subaru.
fail. How about the backseat room?
It's actually pretty good.
And to end off the interior, I think we should probably talk about the pedal placement.
The pedal placement is not the best because I think the gas pedal is a little bit too short for heel toe.
Yeah, there's like not enough room. You hit your heel on whatever this panel is right here.
The transmission tunnel.
In this, yes. In a front-wheel drive car, no. Maybe?
Well, it depends where the transmission is, but usually they
Yeah, I don't know. And for being an old car, you do get a couple good features. You have a nice reverse camera, which is clear enough. And you've got blind spot monitoring, which is very clear. It's just one of those things that I like to have in pretty much every car.
Yeah, but this doesn't even have like bad blind spots, so you don't even need it.
I know, I just like it.
Yeah, fair.
And then if we move on to the trunk area, we actually have a whole bunch of room back there, but we can't drop the seats from the very back. You gotta go to the back seats. So before we get to the price and everything, I'm gonna give it a little send into cliche corner. Oh, barely got the heel toe downshift there. And it is understeery. But see, if I let off, it like really wants to oversteer.
Yeah, the lift-off oversteer is definitely real.
It's I don't know, it's fun being able to do what you want with the car.
Yeah, you just have to make it do it a different way than the way that you naturally think you need to do, which is with the throttle.
Okay, so that's everything with the WRX, right?
Yep.
Let's get to the price.
Okay, it's a lot of money for what this is because this is the top trim. This is $39,695.
Canadian.
Yes, and for $600 more, you can get yourself into a base STI. Yeah.
I mean, you should probably get the base STI.
You probably should.
But this is nice, it does exist, and it is pretty cool.
And I think if you get this in the cheapest version, that is the best value you can possibly get for this car.
And the cheapest version of this would come without the CVT.
Correct, it would be a 6-speed manual.
But the STI doesn't have a CVT option, so if you want the fastest version of a Subaru in automatic, it would have to be this in CVT.
It would be if you had to get an automatic.
So what's the direct competition for this WRX?
Well, this was a hot hatch at one point, it's no longer, but the competition would be the GTI, the Jetta GLI, the Civic Si, the Civic Type R, and the STI, and kind of the BRZ, and also the Golf R, because the Golf R is all-wheel drive.
Yeah, it sounded like you put a lot of front-wheel drive in there.
And I also forgot about the Veloster N.
Okay, so front-wheel drive, I guess because this is kind of understeery, but this would have a lot more advantage in winter and if you're driving on like gravelly surfaces.
Yeah, and people seem to think that they really need all-wheel drive in the winter. I personally don't. You personally don't.
No, look. My Prowler doesn't have traction control, doesn't have ABS. All it has is a good pair of Continental winter tires, and I can handle winter absolutely fine.
Yeah, and my Raptor is also rear-wheel drive. People say that I drive in 4x4. No, it's always in rear-wheel drive, and it's fine.
So between all of those, say you weren't necessarily driving in snow every single day of the year, which one would you take?
Even if I was, I would take the Veloster N.
To be honest, I would probably take the Veloster N unless it was non-stop snow. Then I'd probably go STI or something.
Yeah, or WRX in the bottom trim or something like that.
Base STI.
Exactly. Yeah, I would do the exact same.
So let us know if you still think you need all-wheel drive in winter, and if you do, would you still pick the WRX?
Just get some winter tires, you'll be just fine. Let us know in the comments below which one you take.
Check out this playlist.
Right here, click. Right here.
Oh, which camera are we looking at? Oh,
I was looking at this one.
Okay, click.